So contrary to popular opinion, I don't stay up all night and think about you guys. I care about you, I pray about you, but I don't study you. And I hope you don't study me, because I don't come out smelling like a rose if you take time to study. So let's not study each other, let's just, the simplicity of love, as our brother said. Let's just walk in the simplicity of love.
Amen. Yes.
Rather than studying each other. But I know who all the troublemakers are, because they will find each other. You come into this congregation and we watch who you hang out with, who you get. You see, and if we have someone in the parking lot gossiping and talking and complaining, we know them to be a complaining spirit. And here you come into the congregation and you're hooked up with you. Right away the antennas go up. Right away the warning signals go up. We know who you are. So make sure your fatness and your anointing and your olive oil comes from people who are honoring the kingdom and the men and women in the kingdom and the Elohim of the kingdom.
Yes, yes, sir.
Not perfect. You're not going to find perfect people to let their nourishment flow upon you. You're not going to find them. But Yeshua said, be ye perfect, meaning it's a lifelong dedicated process. We're dedicated to being perfect. We strive to be perfect. We move forward to be perfect. None of us are perfect. Not as we already have attained. We press forward that we may attain the mark, the excellency of the mark of the high calling of Yahweh in Mashiach Yeshua.
Hallelujah.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. But there are olive eitzim in the kingdom, and you need to be around these people because they know what it's like to be crushed and to have circumstance deal them a difficult blow. And yet they still live for Yahweh. And yet they still overcome. And yet they still press forward. And yet they still move on.
Yep.
Now I want you to remember that Noah sent the dove from the ark, from Tevat Noah, the ark. And when the dove came back, he came back with 2 roasted marshmallows, right? Oh, no? Okay. The dove came back with an olive branch, an olive AIDS, which was a sign of life and newness and renewal. So there are certain people in the kingdom, you hang around them, you fellowship with them, you commune with them, you will have your life, your understanding, your insight renewed in a new and a living way. Does that make sense?
Amen. Hallelujah.
You choose to hang out with the strongest disciples and sit at their feet and not hang out with those folks who are not really strong in the kingdom.
That's right.
So we see here that the dove returned with an olive branch, symbolic of life, newness and life, swimming in Yahweh's fatness. An olive tree Talmud disciple will serve others faithfully, wherever and whenever he is placed, he or she is placed. An olive tree disciple does not need title or position. They don't need accolades because they know these positions, these titles, and these accolades are not theirs. They belong to Yahweh. Mishlei says, let another praise thee and not thee yourself. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So an olive tree disciple serves where they're placed and when they're placed. They don't seek a position in their own flesh, in their own timing. And they don't seek the accolades or the titles or the positions that are not theirs. Meaning, what's another way of saying that are not theirs? In Hebrew we say ganaf. In the 10 Commandments say al tignaf. For those of you who speak Hebrew. Al tignaf. Do not steal. Or like my father used to say in Yiddish, don't be a ganaf. Don't be a ganaf. Not good, be ganaf. This kind of a Talmud, a disciple, a tree, will drink and share the fatness from Yeshua, will drink the fatness from the Ruach HaKodesh, and willingly share it with others, listen, without recognition, without title, without accolades, without being applauded, without being called up on stage. They build, they do, they work, they strive, they labor, because they want to honor Elohim with the honor that Elohim honored them. I got news for you. You may have a hard time believing this. If you guys didn't put a penny in the pushki, and there was no Bnei Yeshua, and there was no Moed Hall, and there was no food, I would take my King James Bible, find a tree, and preach the gospel, because woe unto me if I preach not the gospel. For it is incumbent, a burden is laid on me, that I preach the gospel. 1 Corinthians 9:14 through 17. Woe unto me if I preach not. You'd find me somewhere doing the work of Yahweh, because I didn't get into this for the money, or the accolades, or the fame. And when our motive is wrong, and there are times we serve Yahweh out of a wrong motive, you'll get crushed. Don't worry. If you're a real olive tree disciple, he'll crush you, and he'll take it right out of you. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Which means we don't have to take it out of each other. Yahweh does the crushing. There's one lawgiver, one shofet, one Mashiach. So this Talmud, this disciple, produces fruit according to Yochanan 15, according to Melachim Aleph, 1 Kings 6, verses 23 through 30, which reminds us that the Ark of the Covenant was built with olive trees, olive wood. Why? Because Yahweh wanted his manifest presence on earth to be acknowledged as the source of all that is good and all that is faithful, and Yahweh wanted his faithfulness, his tov, him represented as the source of all fatness and goodness, represented by olive and by olive wood. So that when we would look at that olive tree, we would associate it with Yahweh's honor, Yahweh's fatness, Yahweh's good in our midst. The Ark of the Covenant was made from olive wood. Isn't that neat? Baruch Hashem Yahweh. I said Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
And the other, verse 10. I'll go to Shoftim chapter 9, verse 10. So, write this down. Disciple number 1, olive eights. Is an olive eights a tov kind of disciple? Huh? Yes, absolutely, right? Absolutely. Verse 10. And the other 8 seem, so in other words, mankind is puffing up the flesh of an olive tree disciple, but an olive tree disciple says, nope, I'm going to do only what Yahweh tells me to do, and I'm only going to do it when Yahweh tells me to do, and I'm not going to seek titles, positions, and seasons that are not mine and that are not given to me by the Father. If I'm supposed to be an usher, I'll be an usher until Yahweh changes my position. If I'm in security, I'll do security until Yahweh changes my position. If I clean toilets, I'm going to clean toilets to the best of my ability until Yahweh changes my position or Yahweh lifts me up. That's an olive tree Talmud. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. And why not? Because Yahweh is represented as an olive tree through the Ark of the Covenant where he dwelt among his people. So the olive tree was not susceptible to the pull of the other 18. Who are the other 18? The other disciples. No matter what people say, what people do, the olive tree is steadfast in his calling. Verse 10. Again, this message, the symbolism of trees in Scripture. And the other 18 said to the fig tree, okay, since the olive tree is not going to be manipulated, that's what men will try to manipulate you to get them to do what they want you to do. And you got to be strong and say, no, my marching orders come from Yahweh, for our citizenship is in heaven, from whence we look for the Savior, Mashiach, Yeshua, Adonenu. And the other 18 said, okay, well, we tried the olive tree, now let's try the fig tree. See, Israel's always looking for a human leader, a king, when Yahweh wants to be their king, and Yahweh was their only king. Fig eights, now how about if you come and reign over us? The fig eights could say, well, will you offer me a parsonage? Medical benefits? A salary? See, I was in that loop for a while when I was interviewing for pastors' positions for churches. I was going around from church to church, and so I didn't have enough faith, I didn't have enough wisdom, I didn't have enough stability and trust in Yahweh, and whoever was going to hire me, that's where I was going to go. Fortunately, nobody hired me.
Hallelujah.
Because I was walking around trying to get hired. I was saying, I'm not asking for much. I'm tired of telemarketing. I'm tired of sales. I'm tired of driving a taxi. I'm tired of working in a warehouse. I don't care. I'll preach whatever you want me to preach. Doesn't matter. Tongues, no tongues, go to hell, no hell, heaven. Women, lesbians can be ministers. I'll preach whatever you want me to preach. Does your check bounce? Can you fit $250 a week into your budget? See, that's the way I was. I wasn't stable. So because of that attitude, Yahweh put me in Mishkan David, where I was in Lauderhill, and I sat there for a year and a half under Gabe Simkin, who I discipled him, I taught him, I shared, I ordained him as a rabbi, and now he said, now go back and learn humility. I couldn't open my mouth at Mishkan David without his permission. I would get up to prophesy, and he would take the microphone away from me. I love the guy, but that was good, because Yahweh wanted to crush me. That was good. That was good. That was good. And I thank Yahweh for that season. So now they're going to try the other fig 8 scene, verse 11. But the fig 8 said to them, oh, should I forsake my sweetness and my tov fruit to be promoted over the other 8 scenes? Now the fig tree also gives a proper response. This is the kind of Talmud who gives forth sweetness and pleasant odor. Doesn't mean they have a better deodorant than you do. It just means they have spiritual fruit before Yahweh. This Talmud seeks, listen, a fig tree 8 Talmud seeks to heal relationships, seeks to heal pain, seeks to heal hurt in others. Their special calling is sweet and tov. They forsake promotion and titles and advancement in favor of serving, and what they serve is healing, restoration, reconciliation. They are reconciling brothers and sisters into oneness and forgiveness. Is this too complicated? No, right? It's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. So, fig tree Talmudim are giving forth the sweetness and the fruit and the pleasantness of healing, encouragement, uplifting personality, and a unifying or an edifying individual. You ever run into people in the congregation? They're always edifying, they're always encouraging, they're always lovingly admonishing. You know that they're a comforter, manifesting the comfort of the Ruach HaKodesh. There are certain people that have that gift. I'm looking at a couple right now. There are people that will encourage you no matter how bad you've done, no matter what you've said, no matter how silly you've acted. They will come to you and they will encourage you. That's a wonderful, tough, sweet fruit to give out. It's a sweet odor. It's a sweet fragrance to give out. How many know there are people like that in the Kehillah? Yep. Amen? No one. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So that kind of a Talmud seeks to encourage, to lift up, to unify, to edify, heal relationships, minister to pain and the hurt of others. Fig trees are seen in Bereshit as man's attempt to heal. What did Adam and Chava do when they fell into sin? What did they cover themselves with? You sure?
Yes.
Yes. So right away, that was a man's attempt to heal. The figs were the first attempted remedy and covering or attempt at healing. This kind of a Talmud walks in a healing ministry, often has the gift or the office of a healing minister. This healing gift can manifest in many different ways, including godly or set-apart counsel, or set-apart advice that heals, reconciles, restores, and teaches people to move on and to forgive. So if you have the gift of counseling or advising in a biblical context, you are a fig tree disciple. Think about that. People come to you for figs. Amen? For that healing that admonition, that encouragement, that reconciling spirit, that unifying spirit, that seeks to bring people together. They come to you when they need that. I want to be like that. You want to be like that. Amen? We all want to be like that. In Yeshayahu, don't turn there please, in Isaiah, Yeshayahu chapter 38 and 39, we see there was the fig tree, or the fig eggs, that healed who? Melech Hezekiah. Who's Hezekiah? Hezekiah. Hezekiah was healed. What did Yeshayahu the prophet say? Put the figs on your wound and you will be healed. And he was healed and lived 15 more years. Amen? Baruch Hashem Yahweh. How about Nathan in Yochanan chapter 1? Yochanan chapter 1 verses 45 through 49. Yeshua saw Natan under the fig tree and said, look, there's the fig tree over the fig tree disciple. Look, there is an Israelite with no deceit, no guile, and no hidden agendas. That didn't mean he didn't have a date. No goyle. He wasn't talking about a goyle. He was talking about guile. A lot of people say, oh, he was single because he had no goyle. No, he had no guile. No deceit. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. No hidden agenda. Mishlei 27:18 tells us that. The same thing. They that seek to promote Yahweh's agenda, listen, have no guile, they have no ulterior motive, they don't have any deceit, they want to be a healer. People are fighting, they want to give healing. People are arguing, they want to settle the dispute. Brothers and sisters are making mountains out of moles, they come in and want to be a peacemaker and settle things quickly. That's the tov, that's the sweetness of their fruit. We all need folks like, we need more folks like that. Amen? And their counseling is told, their advice is told. They have the gift of admonishment. And we want to surround ourselves with brothers and sisters just like that. But there's a downside, unfortunately. A fig tree disciple, though they're a good Talmud, often don't know the fullness of their calling.